Okay, so first, to start your career as a QA engineer, so you have to start over here. You start the journey with as a software QA engineer with the manual testing. So you have to know a manual testing, because manual testing is the mother of all testing. So you have to know the manual testing with the very basic concept about the testings, like the software development life cycle, software test life cycle, different type of testings or activities like the functional, non-functional integration. And nowadays this API is very important. At least the manual API testing and different other types of testings available, like sanity, smoke test, regression, user acceptance testing, and even sometimes some companies they prefer the production testing. So in rigorous manual, you have to know all the manual concept. What is the different types of testing, how to do, what is the other activities, what is the roles and responsibilities during the software test lifecycle, and how the software test lifecycle merge or parallelly works with software development lifecycle and fully deploy a product. So, you have to know all those things. You have to know how to write test cases, steps, define scenarios. You have to know the bug life cycle, how to own the bug life cycle, the different use case of the different tools of the bug life cycle we use. Nowadays in market, there's a tons of tools in the market, right? There is you have to know at least one test management tools. It could be, say, Microsoft Test Manager. It could be QA Test, the TestRail. Those are all cloud-based test management tool, right? So using those tools, how to create test cases, and definitely beside the software, a few software development methodologies, like what is the waterfall methodology, so what is B model, and especially the Agile. You have to know very well Agile, because most of the company nowadays they use the Agile methodologies to develop their software. So those are the very basic concept. No matter what, whether you are fresher or you are experienced, definitely if you're experienced, you will know it. But as a fresher, definitely you have to know this. This is the number one. Okay, this is from here your journey will start. And after that, next you have to improve your technical skill over here. At least you have to know one programming language very well. At least one. It could be Java, it could be JavaScript, or it could be Python. So if you ask me which one would be the easier, yes, for if you don't have a IT background, if you're coming from a different background, or you have an IT background, and you have a long time gap, and you forgot all of the language, maybe Python is the easiest one to start. But on the other hand, in regards to the market automations, because it's this programming language you need to develop or to participate or to be a QA automation developer. So that's what you need. This is the next steps. But this is the world demand that it's not only the nowadays the QA markets depend on the manual testers, but also you have to be a automation developer. So to be an automation developer, you need to learn one programming language. So maybe Python is easier to learn, but on the other hand, in regards the community, like online community support, based on community online support, Java is the one of the most stable languages. It's been a long time, and that works for automation. So my suggestion, if you feel it's difficult, maybe you can start with the Python. But if you're confident, if you are looking for the more online support, like the tutorials, community forum, Java is one of the best. So either one of them. And nowadays even JavaScript also getting more popular. It's getting also popular because of all the JavaScript based web-based technology, like nowadays most of the companies they're building their framework, their application based on JavaScript. Okay, so that's what the React Angular is one of the popular frameworks. So that's why a lot of companies they look for automation developer based on JavaScript. But either way, either any one of them, there's a tons of door open. So you need to know at least one programming language, and beside you need to know also database language, which is the backend language, right? So it could be the SQL, it could be MySQL or Oracle. So that, so as a QA, we don't expect that you are going to create a procedure for through the SQL language. All you have to know the language that much so that you can retrieve the data from the backend. Okay, just all it's because it's already the backend developer. They are going to create the backend, the code. They are going to create all the procedure, methods, everything through the SQL. As a QA, your job would be, if it's required, your job would be, you just go to the database and then use some of the query, like any one of the query, SQL or MySQL, whatever the query is there, and use that query. Most of the times you are going to use a select command using some of the join table. Maybe it's a left join, right join, inner join, all those things. Any one of the join, you will retrieve the data so that you see that what's the output comes from the database, and also you can match with the front end, like your web applications, the front end, whatever the input you provide. So that's all as a QA you have to do if you need to do the backend testing. So for doing this, this is also very minimum things that you need to know. So one programming language like front end or back end, you can say whatever Java is works front end and back end, and also one database language, okay, which could be the SQL or MySQL. And the next you need to learn web automation. Now after the one of the programming language, now it's time to move on to do some web automations like UI based automation. It could be the Selenium, it could be Cypress. So Selenium, it's been a decade, more than a decade, the market is dominating for the UI automation. Cypress has been the last 3-4 years, it's getting very strong and very popular because of the JavaScript frameworks. So either one of them, if you're a newcomer, if you're fresher, I would say probably you can start with the Selenium, because based on Selenium, you will find tons of tutorial online, even YouTube, there is a different institution they're teaching, and there is a tons of leader, and there is a forum. So you will get a lot of support at the beginning if you want to learn Selenium. In Cypress, the community based on the Cypress community is getting bigger, it's getting popular, but it's still behind in Selenium. So either one of them, probably I would recommend start with the Selenium using Java or JavaScript or Python. Okay, and learn the industry frameworks, like real life frameworks. When you go to the workplace, what type of frameworks they use, so for those automations. Could be the frameworks it could be that it's called BDD frameworks, or it could be TDD frameworks. BDD is like behavior driven development, which is the most famous frameworks using agile methodologies. Okay, or could be the TDDs. TDD is test driven development frameworks. A lot of companies, they prefer the TDD, especially for unit testing, they use TDD frameworks. But either way, okay, so either way frameworks, but learn in-between automations, and build and learn a build project management tool using a Maven, Gradle for doing in-between project, and then know about source repo. You have to learn also source repo over here. It's like it's called the GitHub. It's like when you write the code in your machine, you have to, this is your local machine, but this is not the place you are going to store your code. Your code have to be in one generic server, one very, a repo, or it's a web server. It's called Git or GitHub. So there's a tons of about this. GitHub is one of the popular one where you can store your code. And also you have to learn one of the CI/CD tools. It's called Jenkins. So Jenkins it's a very popular, or other cloud-based CI/CD tools like in AWS or Microsoft Azure. So whatever that, so you have to know a little bit also the CI/CD technology, how it works, that the pipeline, how it's built, because you are when you are moving over here automation, it means you are similar. It's like a web developer. So only the difference, the developer, they're building an application and you are building a code to test that application. So it is similar type of jobs. So like you are doing a coding, so you have to follow exactly the same process the developer follow, like writing the code in your local machine, and after that store that code to the Git repo, and after that you need a pipeline in CI/CD or Jenkins in CI/CD or Circle CI, and so that it's connect your pipeline and connect with your Git repo code, and from there it can run, you can build, and you can deploy, you can test whatever that your company wants to do. So this is up until now, up until this, the web automation, this is nowadays that's the minimum. That's a minimum to be a QA. There was a day, right? Probably 5, 6, 7, 8, or 10 years way back, when there was no QA idea in Bangladesh. I know it's like 10 years way back, there was no QA concept in Bangladesh. So all developers, they used to do the testing. But in usually in the global market, even 5 or 10 years way back, most of the people they were okay with the manual testing. But nowadays industry got changed, the technology got changed. There's a lot of free open source tools comes up, like Selenium, Cypress, both are open source. The company, they don't have to pay expense any money for doing this automation. That's why, and also we adopted the new development process methodologies, like it's Agile. It means like it's a continuously you are going to build the software and you are going to deploy the software to the end client. So we don't have that much time to wait like 5 months to build the application, then another couple of months for test. Nowadays, the company, they wants to deploy every week, or every couple of weeks, or even some company, they deploy every day, like Facebook, Microsoft, they deploy their code every day to the production. So at the end of the day, they deploy. How is possible? They need to test. So after they do the code, the developer, they need to test, then it should deploy. That's why the automation comes to the picture. It's very crucial. It plays a very crucial in the deployment pipeline. Like, so everything, someone is automated. As soon as the developer push their code, and right away that's the testing is started for the automation one. So that then if the automation pass, then it's the code push to the deployment. So that's why they don't have to wait like a 1 week, spend another week to do the testing. But on the other hand, yes, everything is not 100%. Automation is not possible. There's a few technical challenge that you have to for those you have to do some more manual testing for sure. But I'm saying nowadays, like the big giant company, they are going even at the everyday deployment, and this is why all others, when the big company, they adopt this kind of the pushing technology, and then it's every other company, they're also learning, and they're also following that kind of things. So that's why you can see nowadays, even Bangladesh now, it's like building a QA community. I know some of the other few guys, they started the QA business, so they started and most of the company, they are hiring now QA people, because of the QA, they understood, they realized that the QA is nowadays is important part of the software development life cycle. So and to be a success, to be really on the right path, you have to complete at least this path. So up until this web automation, you will get a job now when you start, the manual testing, but it will not last long. If you want to solid your career, if you want to really secure your career, you have to know at least up until this, like web automation, until one web automation, which is not sufficient, but this is the minimum things. Okay, let's move on to next. After you done this one, next I would say go to the API. Next you have to learn the API testing. API, it's very important nowadays. So what is API? I'm not going to explain in details, but just in overall, I can give you the idea. It's an API is an application programming interface. Is a way for two or more the computer programs to communicate with each other. Like there was an example, like if I want to say very easy word, the API is like the middleman. Like when you go to the restaurant, you give your order to the waiter. So waiter takes your order to the kitchen, and then kitchen give you the food to the server, and he serve it. So the server is the middleman, the waiter is the middleman. So you can say the waiter is the API. So when I send our request through the client application, like through the web browser, there is an API in the middleman, which is called also business layer. And he takes your request and it goes back to the database, and he, according to your request, he gets the data, extract the data from the database, and the response he shows to your back to your screen. So this is like API, and everybody nowadays use API. API is now is used heavily. You are using API, probably you don't know. Like example, Google Map. There is an API is using up there. Gmail, when you log in through the Gmail, there is an API up there. It's a YouTube API. And when you upload something, or when you want to search something on YouTube to watch this video, that's the API request happen behind the scene, right? So everywhere is small, big company, everybody nowadays, they're using API, right? So that's why it's an API is nowadays very important. Even your probably your company, if you work somewhere, your company use different companies API. This is possible too. Like if you go to the any airlines website, say example Air Canada, and so you are looking for to book a flight from Bangladesh to Canada. Then you will see on the side, on your page on the side, after you complete your booking, you will see on the side there is an advertisement coming up that suggests you some of the hotel near about the place in Canada you're like where you are going to land. Okay, so why are those things comes? So it comes from API. So those advertisements from different companies is showing on Air Canada's website it is coming through the API. So that's why it's API. It's very important. Have to make sure company, whoever using their own API or third-party API, they wants to make sure those API is working fine. So you have to, this is the very demandable. If you don't know the API testing today, tomorrow, to be a successful or to secure your career, you have to learn also API. It's not probably 100% like without this you're not able to sustain. I'm not saying that, but this is a very demand is getting rising up and up and up. Okay, so you have to know that's the API testing also. Okay. And there is the tons of tools in the market in regards to API. The Postman is one of the famous. If you want to learn API testing, like a manual API testing, I would say go for the Postman. So most of the company, they use Postman. Then, there is a SOAP UI for SOAP web services. That's a little bit old, the API, the web service based, but for the automation one, we have right now, it's a REST API is based on it's a REST assured. Like if you learn the Java over here, the Java will help you to the API testing over here, API automation, which is the REST assured API. So REST assured is the Java based library for API automation. Okay, so if you learn one program over here, it will not only help you to build your web automation, it will also help you to do your API automation too. Okay, so that's one thing. I'm saying that it's better to learn, and you should learn that this is like, this is the path of your career to sustain long time. Okay, this is the demand. And next, I would say learn, if you are good up until now API, then move on mobile automation. Okay, so then move on to the mobile automation, because now we all use mobile, right? So everything it goes to the mobile. There is apps related everything. So whatever is a web application, there is most of the company, they build a app also for Android, for iOS. So it could be the native, it could be the hybrid apps too. So whatever the apps, but it's most of the times like, and I think nowadays as a regular user, as a regular internet user, we are using more in mobile than our laptops or web. So mobile is getting really high demand, the mobile automation. So since there's a tons of mobile applications is building every day, so somebody have to test it, right? So there's a huge tester demand on the mobile automation too. But this is not something that you have to start first. This is like, I would say, after even API testing, you can move on the mobile, or after the web automation. At least you have to learn the web automation up until this, than whether you choose the API testing or mobile testing. But to me, it's the API is more demand. And then after you've done the API, then you can probably move on to the mobile automation. Okay. So for mobile automation, again, mobile, you can learn do the testing two way. You can do it manually, right? So you'll download the apps like you are going to test, and then you manually test that app. That's the manual mobile testing. But you nowadays you need it's more demand for the mobile automation, because when you do the automate, it takes not only takes a less time, but also you can test in different device through the automations. It's easy to test in different devices, like even one device, but your app, you have, when you're going to test, you have to ensure that your application is testable in multiple devices. So there is a virtual, the mobile you can use through the automation also. Like there was a Android Studio. So Android Studio help you to make a virtual device. In one device you can use you can use multiple virtual devices that will work exactly the real device. So the automation is very demandable for mobile testing too. So for doing the automation for mobile, it's APM is one of the tool. APM, it's again, if you learn one thing over here, again, it's going to be help you on the move on your next word. Like APM is nothing, it's just an extension of Selenium. So if you know the Selenium, you already know 50 to 60% the APM testing, because the APM is nothing, is an add-on or extension of the Selenium. So most of the Selenium code, Selenium code is going to be help you to build a mobile automation. Similar type of frameworks you use in Selenium, you can use also in APM. And the same language, if you use Selenium based on Java, your Java will help over here to do the APM testing. So that's why I prefer Java in one sense, because the Java is a common usable programming language across not every other automation, not only in web automation. Okay, so mobile automation, for mobile automation or APM automations, you can use Java also over here. Okay, and next is performance testing. Performance testing, it's so when you performance is getting also a demand, getting demanded day by day, because for the users, like nowadays everybody use the application, like whether it's a web application or mobile application. It's since the internet is very easy, it's accessible from everywhere. So there is a tons of user now using the same application compared to 5 years back. So it means it's the application, it is hitting the load, right? It's taking the load. So that's why the performance testing is getting also very demandable, because you have to ensure, the company, they have to ensure that application is right for it's able to take the load. It's right for the people that are using without any delay, right? So the performance testing is very important. And for doing the performance testing, there's a number of tools available in the market. You can say it's one of the old tools, is like called the HP Load Runner. HP Load Runner, it's kind of old tool. It's been a long time in the market, but it's quite expensive, the subscription. But there is an open source, it's called, another tool is called JMeter. So JMeter, it's it's a very open source, it's a free software, so you can use that software. You need a scripting language definitely up there, so performance, but it's usually, there is a the QA, individual QA who do the performance testing. He's most of the time he perform this, he is most of the times he engage with the performance testing, because performance testing is a whole different layer of testing. So when you do the performance testing, probably you will not perform other type of testing. Okay, so one person is not possible to do all different types of testing, like the manual testing and automation maybe is possible, or manual and API testing, or manual and mobile automation. But the performance with the other automation, that's not possible. It's 1% not possible. So if you prefer to be a performance testing, so then maybe your road would be just to learn the manual testing, and then move on the performance testing. And definitely you have to learn one of the programming languages, then move on to the performance testing. Okay, so that's the performance testing. So this is that next that you have to learn, or I would prefer after the mobile automation. Okay, so beside all those things you learn, there was a few concepts you need to have a clear idea. So pretty much for a learning point of view or experience point of view, that should be fine, from manual testing to performance testing. But when you're going to join a work, when you're going to start a work in a real life, this is not only the things you are going to do. There's a lot of other add-on stuff, a lot of other technology that you need a knowledge, because when you're going to work, so you just not only do your own work. Beside, you are working on a team. You are working with the development team, right? So there is a lot of other technologies that you need a knowledge. So what other things you need to know? It is something like you need to know, or you need a knowledge. I would say one thing is called microservices. Microservices, it is a small single service offered by a company. It derives from the distributed computing architecture that connect with many small services, other than having one large service. So each and every microservice or module does a specific job. The microservice can then be delivered through an application programming interface like API. For every module, you need to build some sort of testing to confirm that that module is working as expected. Good. So microservice as a part of API also, they use the JUnit or test engine frameworks. If you're familiar with the automation, so this JUnit or test engine is the test UI frameworks, right? So microservices, they use is a part of the API, and they use a JUnit or test engine, for as a testing framework. Okay, so but it's not every company. It's all it depends on the type of the product your company is selling. So is that they are providing some sort of like microservices. So microservices is very fast services, right? So a lot of companies, specifically I would say telematics services, the telematics, or you can say fleet services, right? So those companies, those type of product, they provide a microservices. But this is something add-on. This is not something you have to know right now, but this is called for the future. Okay, and then the beside, to be a I would say, like, if you want to move on your careers after after all those things, pretty much, like it's time, like I'm talking about now, it's as an experienced QA, like senior QA. So from the senior QA, you want to move on your career to the next steps, like could be a team lead, or could be a QA manager, right? That time you need to know something outside of the box, especially DevOps tools, right? So DevOps tools, like over here, it's part of, over here you can see DevOps knowledge. It's which is like CI/CD, how the CI/CD pipelines works, how to build the pipelines, like how to integrate your testing frameworks between the continuous integration, build and deployment, right? Using any one of the tools, like it could be the Jenkins, or could be the CI Circle, or could be nowadays even cloud applications, right? Definitely, yeah. And sometimes maybe, and also the Docker is another concept, so like another imaging concept, right? So Docker, so a lot of companies now they use the Docker. Docker is similar like a virtual machine. Like previously, we used to run our automation in a virtual machine. So virtual machine is very which is called VMware. So it's a very heavy loaded another machine, but the Docker is very lightweighted, and you can install the Docker on the top of on your operating system. You don't need any other separate machine. So that's why Docker is getting more popular, and very play a crucial role, a significant role in automation nowadays. So maybe this is something not everyone. This is like, I'm saying that if you want to be leader, like QA lead or QA managers, maybe it's this is the things like you have to know, like how you can implement, how you can run your test script in Docker. And do the Docker imaging, do the partition of the Docker, and then you can run your automation frameworks in Docker. This is like outside of the box knowledge, but nowadays is a DevOps knowledge is required not only the DevOps engineer, but also the QA, senior QA. They need to know some sort of like DevOps, because we're, you are working on the automations. When you are working on automation, you have to create a job, you have to create a pipeline, so that your automation can be effective during the process of the of building the software. So how it can be effective? So it means you have to know how to create a job like a CI/CD pipeline and integrate that one on the during the build path of the development. Okay, so that's why if you are like just a fresher, or you started your career, or you're not a senior level, your senior QA or maybe the QA lead or the DevOps, they will help you to build that pipeline. But at one point, when you are thinking that, I'm going to be a leader, I'm going to be a manager, that time you have to know this one. That time you are going to, this is something that you are going to help your team member, like the QA in your team, to build that CI/CD pipeline. So DevOps knowledge is nowadays is very important. In the Western country, most of the QA engineer, they have to know some sort of DevOps knowledge, whether it's like you are experienced or you are even fresher. But in Bangladesh, I don't think so. Like it's necessary right now. But it's one day it will come up. Probably you will see this 4 or 5 years later, or 3-4 years later, you will see it's a DevOps knowledge is very one of the high priority requirement to get a job in a QA. So this is like or to be a the QA manager. And then finally, it's a cloud testing. So cloud testing now, most of the application is the web application. Most of the, you will see that it's based on nowadays cloud. It used to be a desktop version, like you remember that back in those days, we used to install everything on your machine, whether it's Microsoft Office or PowerPoint, like or whatever does, or even antivirus. So we used to install on your machine, right, from the CD, right? But nowadays the CD is gone because we don't. There is the technology has changed. Now it's everything moved to cloud. So you cloud, it means your application is live 24/7 through your browser, through the internet protocol, through the HTTP protocol, right? So it is evidence. It means it's in clouds, and the big clouding companies facilities. This comes with like through, it could be the Microsoft Azure, it could be the Google Cloud, it could be AWS. So now the company, they're deploying, they're hosting their application in cloud environment. So when their application is hosting in the cloud environment, so when you're going to test it, you have to test it on the cloud environment too. It's not always required, but some companies, they're moving on there too. They're saying, okay, where our all application is in the cloud environment, so I want to build this automation. It means host this automation framework in cloud. Now we are hosting our automation frameworks, like you build on your local machine. After that, you push in the Git or GitHub, and then you connecting with the Jenkins, which is not Jenkins or CI/CD, is not in cloud. But in a lot of companies, they're saying it's not. It is not going to happen within a day or within a year in prospective Bangladesh. But this is the it's a current technology. It's a rising technology is happening in Western country. But I'm saying probably within 5 years, you will say this is a high demand to test. So if you know the basics, all the basics like the manual testing, so automation, then at one point you are going to learn. You need very basic concept like how to integrate your automation frameworks, all the automation, your project in this or host in this cloud technology. So like in a cloud hosting place, it's some similar like it's a hosting place. In AWS, you will get like a bucket, S2 bucket, and there are the EC2, the instance where you can host web application, where you can host your web automation frameworks too. And from there, it will be run exactly the same. It runs through the Jenkins. So it's not a huge difference, but it's a definitely new technology. It's a new things to learn, but it's not high priority right now for you. So as a start, again, to wrap up, to start your career, if you're fresher, start with the manual testing. But keep in mind, you have to, beside you're learning the manual testing, all the manual concept, you have to know at least one programming language. Maybe it's Java is going to be a little bit difficult if you're non-IT background, but Java has the tons of benefit facilities based on Java. It will help you not only build your web application, it will help you build your API automation, it will help you build your mobile automation too. So Java works across all different type of automation. Okay, so that's the, I would say that's in that point, Java is the most acceptable, or it's better to learn starting your automation with the Java. Okay, so pretty much that's pretty much, it's within a short time. I try to make it short. This is the high level, I would say, the road journey, that from where you can start and how, from what step you need to be next, and from there how we move on next, and eventually you turn as a QA lead or QA manager. Okay, so we'll have a QA session, very short QA session, but let's move on. There's another very quick topic. So after you build your career in a QA, maybe you have a question, what is the future of the QA career? So future, so if sometimes it comes to our mind, because QA is not the developer. So there will be demand for a developer everywhere, always. But what is the demand of the QA? Is that secure? My job is secure. Okay, here is a couple of data I'm going to show with you. So global market, it's the insights. The global market insights, it's based on the global market insights software testing market. The market size is in 2020 was USD $40 billion. And their forecast from 2021 to 2027, it's $60 billion. So their market would be, by the 2027 is $60 billion, even though there is a recession is started, there is currently we're facing the recession, even though they're saying is a recession going on, but it's still, this is the forecast, projection, that's the QA market as per the global demand. And according to GPA.com, they're saying specifically US testing market. US testing market average starting salary is $91,000. And top 10% employee can make even above $130,000. This is the US market, the salary in regards. So now the world is, the technology world is open, right? It's like, and especially after the COVID started, the tons of, the remote jobs are opening. It doesn't matter where you are living in physically, as long as you can sync with the time, with the local time of the company who they're preferring, you can apply. You can take this opportunity. Look at our neighbor country in India. It's tons of peoples, like I would say probably not 50%, but probably 30 to 20% in the market they capture in the USA remotely, just for the QA job. So Bangladesh can do the similar things. We have a manpower, we have a knowledge of people. All we need, more community, more awareness program, so that people, they understand, they can believe it is possible. And we have a young generation, so it is possible to do it. We can be a part of probably 5%. If think about it, 5% or 2 to 3% job market, if we can capture remotely across from Bangladesh to North America, that's a huge revenue will generate, so for the country. Okay, so and that time probably you will not get 91K, but if you get even 70K, 60K, why not? That's a lot of money for in regards to our currency convert. So this is a huge demand. Okay, so it's the market. So don't worry, there is no worry about the QA future career. Even though the AI automation is coming up, so still there will be somebody will need to develop and implement the AI, which is I would say at least another probably to be established AI another 6, 7, 8 years, 6 years. 6 years, at least 6 years will take time. In the meanwhile, if you develop your career, you will know, where to move, where to go next, what will be your next play, right? But so you will know it by the time. So focus on, as I explained right now, that will be, take your journey from the beginning to an expert level, even in a lead or manager level. So pretty much that's all. I try to maintain the time gap. I mean, the time we're allocated. So almost 45 minutes. So let's have a very quick Q&A session. Anybody have?
Oh,
yeah.
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ মিস্টার শরীফুল ইসলাম। আমি অ্যাকচুয়ালি সবাইকে রিকোয়েস্ট করব, যদি আমাদের স্পিকারের কাছে কোনো কোশ্চেন থাকে অ্যাবাউট কিউএ ইঞ্জিনিয়ার অ্যান্ড ক্যারিয়ার, এনিথিং অ্যাবাউট ইন দিস সেশন, সো আপনারা প্লিজ নিজের আনমিউট করতে পারেন এবং যে কোনো প্রশ্ন করতে পারেন।
Go ahead. No, I mean, there is no question. No, there's no silly questions. Don't worry if you ask. Yeah.
Hello.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ জি বলুন।
Say your name, please, and then your question.
My name is Maruf Ahmad, and thanks for giving me a chance. I have a question that I am studying. I am a student of computer science and engineering, and I am learning the basic about Python and Java and JavaScript. I know about something in Java, and in my web engineering course, I am learning the Agile method and B-shape method and another model. Can you, in your presentation, I am seeing that for being a QA engineer, I have to learn another kind of, you said that Selenium and APM, this kind of application. So can you tell me, as a student of IT, how can I learn about that?
Okay.
This kind of
yeah, I think
application.
I got your question. So first of all, I would say very good. Like you're learning or you have the knowledge about, at least even the basic knowledge about the 3 different languages, Python, JavaScript, Java, which is more than enough. Enough. As a automation developer, you don't have to be like core programmer, because you are not building the application, right? So those are the app, any one of them programming language should be good enough to build your automation. Now you're concerned about the Selenium or Cypress or the APM for the mobile testing. Those are, yes, those are different languages. It's a specific, I would say it's not a language. I would say it's a library. Like, for every programming language, there is its own library concepts. Java comes with the Java library. So it is a specific library, that help you to build your automation frameworks. And it's not difficult. It is like pretty much similar to like English. Like, it's the SQL language is pretty much close to the English language. Whatever you want to do, you are going to type in that. It is similar. The Selenium, the library or the course, it's called Selenium code, which is it's all it means, like it comes with the project. Selenium, when you're going to configure the Selenium as an automation framework, so that time Selenium comes with its own library. And library, it means, there's a project, and inside the project, there are tons of class and methods. It does some job to make our life easier. What kind of jobs? Say, example, you want to open your browser, right? So you have to open your browser first to do something, right? So how you're going to open the Seleniums? They have their own library. One method is called get. So if you call that method, get method, and you pass the URL, it will automatically launch your applications. So it's easier, very easier. If you want to close your browser, there's a method, it's called close method or quit method. It will close your current browser. Okay, so those are things. It's like very easy or Selenium language. Those will help you to make your automation script easier. And your programming language will help you to build the frameworks dynamically, to build the frameworks logically, wherever you need the logic, like, so logic, it means, sometimes you need to use if else conditions, sometimes you need to use for loop to build up your logic, what you want to do. And in the meanwhile, wherever you need some specific action in a web application, when you're going to test, you are going to perform, you're going to do some action. Right, there's a web element like drop down radio button, you will find that element and you do some actions, like whether you're going to click up there or you are going to type something. So those are action. To do the most of the action, there is a Selenium, the methods available in Selenium code. right? So this is simple. It's not difficult. If your main challenging part to know one of the programming languages, and rest of them, it just you have to know like, yeah, definitely you have to know some of the frameworks. Definitely you have to know how to build integrate all those things. And there is a tons of, if you're interested, there is a tons of open source place. There is an institution definitely like KSA Data, and there is a tons of other institution. I know it's Bangladesh they started. There's another guy also contract with me yesterday. It's called like QA Harvard. So beyond that, there is a tons of online resource. There's a it's Udemy, so you can find. There's even YouTube. You can YouTube find some free courses. Like I can share. Let me share in YouTube. I can through the chat box. You can see there is my YouTube channel. So over there you will see pretty much end to end is Selenium automation from the beginning to end. Most of them, I would say, like it's more than enough for the basics, right? So more than enough for the basics. You will find the frameworks even, but definitely there is some advanced part is a little bit missing. But this is it's a good place that you can start up there. Then maybe you can personally contract whoever experience, but this is the place you can find Selenium into it. You will find Cypress into it. You will find the Java basics. You will find SQL. You will find JavaScript. All the tutorials in one place. So similarly, there's a tons of other resources. Nowadays, it's resources everywhere. All you have to know to find it and then and learn it. I hope that you got your answer, right?
Yes. Thank you. Also, I have a question about you have a lot of experience about this kind of job. You are ex-Googler, so that's why what kind of programming language I have to select basically for this. I have know about 3 kinds of programming language, but I want to know more about what Java or Python or JavaScript.
To be a QA engineer or QA automation developer, that's sufficient. Like if you know the Python, all of a sudden there was a Python demand, but it still gets a little bit in automation world, it's a little bit less now. But JavaScript, I mean, if you ask me to select one program, then I would say Java. If you ask me 2, then probably I would say JavaScript. Then 3rd, I would say the Python. If you have all 3, you are good enough. You will, whatever the automation you want to do, whether it's web, mobile, or API automation, everything. So you will be able to cover all these 3. But beside, SQL, you need at least the basic level of SQL you need to cover the backend or database testing if the company they ask for doing that.
Yes. Also, without the SQL, I have to know about the MongoDB.
It's not everywhere. It really depends on in the company. So the backend testing, it is another part of the QA. It's not like it depends on the company's size. It's most of if it's a small company, usually they don't bother about the backend testing that much because it's not a UI level. The customer is not seeing the backend. Most of the backend developer, they do it. But sometimes if it's a heavy loaded data related applications, right? So that time they need to do sometimes like the backend testing or called A/B testing, right? Previously they use the company's data, and then after they deploy the new code, and then they do some sort of A/B testing. So that time you need some sort of like the backend knowledge. But overall, in general, SQL, MS SQL, or MySQL should be good. But MongoDB is not everybody using, or NoSQL is not using everyone, right? So this is not, when you talk about generic, it is not the generic like the demand in the market.
Yes. So I have to know about more than MongoDB.
Not really.
I have to know.
No. I would say prefer on SQL or
MySQL.
So learn SQL or MySQL first. If you have still interest, capable, then go ahead to MongoDB, or that's fine.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
কারো যদি কোশ্চেন থাকে প্লিজ আনমিউট করুন এবং কোশ্চেন করতে পারেন, এবং পাশাপাশি আমি একটু রিকোয়েস্ট করব, আমি একটা লিঙ্ক দিয়ে দিয়েছি, গুগল ফর্ম লিঙ্ক অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সের জন্য। যদি আপনারা যারা জয়েন করেছেন সেমিনারে, তো রিকোয়েস্ট করব আপনাদের জাস্ট একটা ডেটা রাখার জন্য আমরা একটা ফর্ম দিয়েছি, আপনাদের নাম, সিট, আপনার নাম, ইমেইলটা। সো একটু ফর্মটা ফিল আপ করে দিলে, দ্রুত ফিল করে দিলে আমরা আমাদের সেশনটা চেক করে দেব। সো প্লিজ যারা আছেন একটু দ্রুত ফর্মটা ফিল আপ করে দিন। আমি লিঙ্কটা দিয়ে দিয়েছি, শেয়ার করে দিয়েছি চ্যাট বক্সে। আর যদি কারো কোশ্চেন থাকে প্লিজ আনমিউট করে আপনি কোশ্চেন করতে পারেন।
In the meanwhile, let me for some resources. Okay, I'm giving you some of the link also. Whoever like interested, I can share. I'm going to share a couple of links over here. You will see that there is a QA side. So there's a free QA site where you will find tons of free materials in regards QA technologies, QA, some you can say articles like the different technologies, the tutorials, all those things. The first one, and it is almost every other day, so we're adding a lot of free materials that can be benefits for everyone, whether you are experienced or the fresher. And also there's a Facebook forum I'm building also. Just recently I'm building a Facebook forum also. Again, it's to build a community based on QA, so that we can transfer and share our knowledge with each other. So you will say this every day we're sharing a lot of stuff that can help you somehow, whether it's manual testing or automations, the different technologies, some of the news, some of the updates happening, or new technologies coming up. We're trying our best, so building a community that can be also benefited. And at the beside, you can be connected with me in LinkedIn. You can find me in LinkedIn too. So here is my LinkedIn URL. You can be connect with me up there if you need any suggestions, any advice, or if you want to discuss anything. So I will try my best to find some spare time. I will try to give you a little bit time and give you some, if you have any confusion, any questions later on, or any advice, right? So I will I try my best to share my knowledge and grow it all together. So this is the place you can find me also. And it's the last call to ask the question, please.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum assalam. What's your name?
Sir, I am Taposh Kanto Das from SAST in Bangladesh. Sir, can you have any machine learning book from you? Please reference me.
Machine learning?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Machine learning.
Well, the AI or machine learning, there's a tons of book in the market. Let me find one of the, like, what level you are right now. Like, you are at the beginner or you are already studying, and so I need to know like more specific your level right now, so that I can give you suggest one of the best one, like what would be more appropriate for you. Are you starting just the machine learning, or?
Yes, sir. Already I start the machine learning. Sir, I am studying for MIT in mid-level, second semester. So machine learning is third semester. I have course from university. So I'm starting my any good book, sir.
Okay, I will say still you're a beginner, even though it's the machine learning is not the topics for today's seminar. But
Yes,
let's connect with me in LinkedIn. I will then ping me. Then I will provide you one of the good books suited for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Anyone else? I think that's all for then today. Shoaidul, you want to conclude?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shariful, to join with us. And actually, আমি বাংলাদেশের যারা জয়েন করছে তাদেরকে আবারও মনে করিয়ে দিতে চাচ্ছি যে মিস্টার শরীফুল ওখান কানাডা থেকে জয়েন করেছেন শুধুমাত্র আমাদেরকে সফটওয়্যার টেস্টিং বিষয়টা জানাতে। সো আমরা বাংলাদেশিরা আসলে আইটিতে এখনো সেরকম এগিয়ে যাচ্ছি না। সো এরকম বাংলাদেশিরা যদি যারা আসলে ভালো কিছু করছে নর্থ আমেরিকা এবং গ্লোবাল মার্কেটে, তো তারা যখন আমাদেরকে হেল্প করে তখন এটা একটা বড় পাওয়া হয়ে যায় আমাদের জন্য। সো থ্যাঙ্কস এগেইন মিস্টার শরীফুল। আর আমার মনে হয় যে আর কোনো কোশ্চেন নাই। সো
জি শহীদুল ভাই,
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ইয়েস মিস্টার মারুফ আহমেদ।
জি ভাই, আপনাদের ফর্মের মাঝে আমি দেখলাম যে কোর্সটা নেওয়ার জন্য বলা হয়েছে ইয়েস নো অর মেবি। সো আমি যদি ইয়েসে দিই তাহলে কি আপনাদের কোর্সটা করতে পারবো নাকি এরকম?
Yeah, you can start a course with us.
আচ্ছা, তাহলে ওই যে কোর্স ফিটা কি বলা
I
যাবে
will
কিরকম?
inform you later.
ওকে ভাই।
আচ্ছা, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
Yeah.
ইনস্ট্রাক্টর হিসেবে কে থাকবেন ভাই?
Sure, of course. It's Mr. Shoriful. He
আচ্ছা
will
ঠিক আছে।
join from Canada, and I will inform you the schedule of this course. Please fill out the form. Already I have given you in the inbox.
Yes, okay brother, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm already joined your combined course, People and Tech, this SQL testing course. So now I'm 4 class is gone, but I'm trying to prepare for job, but in abroad like Canada. So how to prepare? So I just want to know from Shoriful sir.
Well, so you're saying that you were since you are in Dhaka right now and you're looking for a job in Canada, right?
Yes, yes.
So in that case, it's like this is it depends on the remote. It is only the option is remotely, right? So I guess that's what you're meant. You are not saying something like you're looking for the opportunity that it will give you the sponsor you and take you to from Bangladesh to Canada. I guess this is not your question, right? So if your question is in regards to the remote opportunity, yes, you have to look on I would say that LinkedIn is the best place to find a job. So check on LinkedIn and puts your you will see there is an option up there that you can search your job in LinkedIn.
But I still am learning, sir.
Oh,
So it's possible to,
yes, if still you are learning, then you have to finish the learning part first. You have to finish your learning because the Western country is more competitive, right? So they ask for a lot of things, even just like the fresher or even entry level. You'll see that the tons of stuff they are looking for. So for your in future preparation, I would say keep going on what you're learning, and then beside update your LinkedIn profile. Keep active on LinkedIn profile. So make sure that your profile is up to date. And you build your network. It means like you add different peoples from the similar the occupation career, add the QA recruiter or IT recruiter, and change your status like you're open for work, and then also you're open for remote work. And you can choose even country you're looking for works, like in Canada, USA. You can choose up there. Then you will see on your when you go to the job section, you're looking, you will see all the jobs result will show you based on your requirement, like based on the remote session, based on the country. Then if you see any one of the job is like appropriate in regards the requirements and that they are okay, whether it's a sponsor or even it's like just remotely, mostly it's remotely, you can apply them. You will find sometimes.
So first of all, I try to job remotely, then but the people are approve me as a fresher, say SQL tester.
It doesn't matter it's you're fresher or experienced. All the look for the you have the skill set. So you have to prove the skill sets. You have to crack the interview. Okay, this is the bottom line. It's this is here is one of the big difference. I would say like the country like our Bangladesh or North America. So like in our country, it's like your certifications, like your degree, your CGPA is very important. Sometimes they ask even that in the interview, but in the North America they don't care about your CGPA. Yes, you need a minimum degree, whether it's college degree or diploma degree, but in the most important things like how much you know, how much you have your skills. So they will define that one through the interview. So you have to crack the interview. Check my YouTube video, the channel. You will find there is a interview tips and tricks interviews the playlist, and you will find there's a tons of sample question I put over there, like what type of question they ask from, say, automation, right? So if it's a Selenium automation, what type of question they ask? If it's a Java, what type of question they ask? If it's a SQL, what type of question? With the answer you will find. So you will get some sort of idea the questions level they asked and the answer they are looking for. Even some behavioral questions, right? So some behavioral questions there. So your question would be two types. One is behavioral, another one is like soft skill, right? So what is so it's not only the soft skill, but also they will look for your behavior, like your psychological thinking. So check on my YouTube channels, you will find some of the QA sessions, like some of the questions sample with answer. So you will have a pretty much an overall idea.
Sir, I have another question. This such a day in the world, so there is a technology update. So Java and Python both are strong programming language, but I know Java, but I properly not Python. So which one is chose for testing?
Well, if you know Java, first of all, if you know Java, it should be good enough for UI automation. It should be good enough for the API or the like REST assured API, and also a mobile or API. So you should be good. But for your curiosity or for your FOI, that if anybody know Java, it's a cakewalk to learn the Pythons, because Python is much more easier than Java. If you understand the Java logics, the concept, like all the OOPS principles, the Python is really easier. All you have to need to take action to learn the stuff. You will see the syntax is a less code, less line, and easier syntax. So it's not required you have to learn Python right away, but I would say it's not a big deal to learn the Python if anyone knows the Java.
Okay, sir. Understand, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Okay, sir.
No problem. Okay,
Hello, assalamu alaikum. This is Aminul from Joycodes. First of all, I would like to giving a thanks to KSI Data Research Center for arranging a wonderful session for QA roadmap. I have basically two questions to the instructor. My first question is like that. It's regarding the real time problem, which we are facing in case of launching any service. Basically, we are providing lots of platform and portal apps through operator like GP, Robi, Banglalink, Teletalk. As a team leader, most of the cases I face some issues from our side, from our developer, find everything okay. When we go through the testing, joint testing with the operator, then there are lots of issues raised from their end, which is basically the cost, time, and efforts are very challenging in case the QA activities get delayed. So in that case, how can we optimize these issues? This is my first question. And the second question, if someone wants to make his career as a QA analyst from the different background, not IT background actually, which I mean, then what kind of initiative to start from that to achieve that goal?
Very good question. Thanks, Aminul. So first question was like about the finding the bug in production. This is the in one sentence I would say, Like you find the bug on later on when it goes to the client, so which is like a productions, and they don't find the bug. The DAP team, they don't find the bugs. It's happening because of I would say lack of process. The lack of process means if, first of all, I'm not sure they have the proper QA team or not. If the developer, they do the testing, it means, when the developer, they do the testing, it means the same person, they build the application, he knows the happy path, the way he built the software. So it's the same scenario here going to use to test. So definitely it's not going to be give a coverage of the 100% coverage of the scenarios or application. Like it means it will be missing some negative scenarios. It will missing some edge case scenarios, right? So those are the very the place the scenarios or place the people they have to know, and that's why they need a QA team, like separate different sets of eyes, the different sets of people who have different sets of skill set, who think outside of the box, who have done knowledge about the overall application flow. And that he thinks a different way, not the same way, because if who is building, he will always know that his own path. Definitely he will not think. That's why they need the QA. So first of all, probably they don't have the QA team. And second of all, if they have a QA team, they don't have the QA process. They don't have the better QA process. Like maybe it's a QA, even though they have a QA, maybe the QA only testing happy path. They are not thinking outside of the box. They are not doing the brainstorming for finding the negative path. So they are not thinking about the edge cases stuffs. So that's the lack of stuffs. And also, it's one of the important testings need to be performed in QA before it goes to the production. It's called the UAT testing, which is called user acceptance testing. So when a QA team, they confirm that they finish all their testing, still there is another set of informal testing. It's called a UAT. It's a different type of people they involve, like from the same company. Could be the client, could be the other customer support team, other team members, to get the more different type of eye sets. They will do random testing about the new deployment or new changes, and then sometimes they find some of the bugs that even the QA they don't find it. So that's a way, it's a different layer to test the application before it goes to the production or in client. So if the QA process is not developed that way, definitely there will be tons of bug will be remain to the application, and eventually client will find that. So the QA process, QA team, this is the answer. It should be up there. And the second one, if someone comes from the different background, yes, the roadmap is pretty much same. Doesn't matter who's coming from where. So roadmap over here, but mostly I would say if someone comes from different background, definitely manual testing have to learn. First things, emphasize on the manual testing, the manual, software development life cycle, test life cycle, different type of testings and different definition of the testings, what type of things we do, writing how to write the test steps, right? Writing the test cases, like using one of the tools, like could be, could be Zephyr, could be QTest, could be TestRail, using any one of the software test management tool, how to write the test case. Writing test case, it's just you're writing an English language. Very simple, like, if your application is like codeinbox.automationlab.com, you open that application and you say, okay, I click on a button. When you write the test cases, you are going to write the same thing in an English word. Okay, go to that xyz.com, and then every action, after you perform any action, there will be some expected result. So you make sure there is expected result, and your expected result have to be matched with your actual results of what you are seeing. So if this match is, you will say pass or fail. So those are the very core basic things for the QA. For non-IT background, emphasize on the manual stuff. Learn the manual test tools, any one of the tools like web-based, cloud-based tools. Emphasize all the concept, and after that, if it's possible, I would say just learn one of the programming languages. And for non-IT, probably I would say learn. We just start with the Python, because Python is easier than Java or JavaScript. So even though based on Python, you will not find tons of resources like Java, but it's good enough. Nowadays there's a lot of online-based tutorial you will find. It's a solid tutorial you will find based on Python. Because Python is easy to learn the concept, So it's maybe start with the Pythons, and based on Pythons, you will learn Selenium or one web application. So for non-IT, I would say your first phase would be manual, and then automation, I would say up to UI automation. That's all should be good enough for the non-IT. I hope that's you guys.
Thank you. Yes, got it. Thank you very much.
Any more question? If it's not, I think let's conclude our seminar here. Shadul, can you close it?
Yeah, sure. You can close this.
Okay, so thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll be keep in touch. So if you have any concern, questions, just let me know. See, talk with us, contract with Shoidul or KSA Data Research, or you can ping me on LinkedIn. We'll see. I'll try my best. Okay. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Okay, sir.
Good
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.